Guilty as charged.
Let me know how it ends.
That's the latest.
Is that an iPhone 17?
I switched to T-Mobile in just 15 minutes.
That's the song with Selena Carpenter. I looked it up. It's not as good as the trailer for sure, but that song is going to get some downloads with this movie. If this movie is in fact successful. Just trying to make sure my phone has internet, and for some reason, okay, good. So I want to get into reviews of The Housemaid as well as Avatar: Fire and Ash, and I'm scheduled to go see both today, but I'm going to see The Housemaid. I gotta remember these names at 8, and right after that I'm gonna see Avatar: Fire and Ash. I would love to see SpongeBob. I wish I could have seen it yesterday, but I did not have money. But that's also playing in theaters, along with a film called David. Apparently there was a sweepstakes. As you can see at AMC, if you purchase tickets from the 18th to the 28th through a trip to a resort in Mexico. A lot of these films are doing sweepstakes, including Avatar, Fire and Ash, SpongeBob, and really also The Housemaid, all three of them. So I should have like a trio review, but I'm only doing three. I'm only doing two because it's two I'm gonna see with my A list. I'm gonna see SpongeBob eventually, I believe. I know I'm gonna see David, but AMC is doing something weird now, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go into tickets, and you can see my tickets. So here are the tickets. You know, I saw Hamlet like 3 or 4 times, but I'm also gonna go into A list because this is how you see how many you have left. And apparently, there was only there's the 18th and the 18th, so that's correct. Because I messed up. I canceled my reservation for The Housemaid because I was going to try to get a future reservation of Avatar or David or one of them. Because the way it works is the A-list was from Friday to Thursday of next week, and so I hope that if I cancel it for this week, I'll be able to get a spot for next week and go ahead and make a future reservation, and then turn around and we claim that 8 o'clock reservation for The Housemaid. So that didn't work, and had to grab my wallet. I don't really need the input right now unless I'm listening to music, unless I'm listening to audio, but I'm going to show my camera real quick. Going to full screen. See? You probably can't see that. Yeah, the ink is kind of faded, but it clearly says Housemaid. Adult ticket for 8 o'clock p.m. I've ordered the $18.99 because it's my A-list, so I'll keep that. So I can't really change it. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. So, because I'm trying to see if there's an earlier ticket for Avatar, because I don't want to stay up too late because I gotta start work tomorrow at the new warehouse position in Moscone Center. But you know what? I'm willing to do it anyway. Yeah, my glasses are always crooked. So anyway, let's get back to it. Yeah. For some reason, I also canceled David. I had it scheduled for Sunday, but I can't get that back. And I'm just gonna have to wait, I guess. It shows that I have it on my A list, but I don't have it in tickets. Anyway, so let's get into some reviews real quick. I got Avatar: Fire and Ash, but like I said, I wanted to do The Housemaid first, just because I'm very curious about the plot. I do not want either film spoiled for me, especially not Avatar. But let's see what some people have to say. Boom. Is that it? Okay. That's what some people have to say. I may add to it as I go.
This movie is hilarious. I don't know what's going on this year and novels being adapted into movies that are just insane. Like, is this the book? Bonanza. Is this the book? The Housemaid was bordering on so bad that it's good, and honestly, I recommend everyone watches it. I think The Housemaid has one of the worst scripts I've seen this year.
Not bad. Guess my internet's not so good as I thought it was. I'm checking my stream real quick. Okay.
Year, and some of the worst needle drops I've heard maybe ever. I had a blast. This is one of those movies that I truly can't say is good because it is not. But oh my god, the whole theater was laughing, including myself, whether intentionally or unintentionally, doesn't even matter. Why is every piece of dialogue delivered like, oh, my family would kill to be on that game show? I'm dying to know. I was like, what do you might as well just turn, look in the camera, and wink at it. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. It is. I can't even say it's campy because that's being too nice to camp. It's just bad, honestly. But I was having such a good time. And then it turns. And when it turns, you can argue it becomes a more serious movie. And honestly, that's when I kind of lost a little bit of interest because it dragged on for so long. But then the worst end credit song you can imagine happens. And I just stood up and cheered. I was like, you know what? This is a movie that we need, okay? It is a truly odd experience, and I need to read the book now. I'm not going to, but I need to.
What the fuck? I just got done watching The Housemaid and I am blown away. Now here's the thing. I've never read this book. My wife did. She was a big fan of it. She's telling me all these twists and turns happen in this movie. And for me, I saw a small preview of this at Comic-Con and that preview was cool, but it looked a little bit generic. And I don't know. I was kind of like, really? Is this going to be good? Great cast. It's probably going to be a cool drama, but overall, is it going to really, like, blow my mind away? Right. And let me tell you, The Housemaid just has twist after twist, and you're going to want to audibly react to every single one of those twists. And even just moments that happen in this movie. Like, it's kind of cringy, but also just really fun. And I think Paul Feig just does a phenomenal job directing this movie and having that pacing for just a quality, entertaining time at the movies. Like, this is one of the movies you're gonna want to see with a packed audience. That way you just get all of that great energy throughout the theater. Because when I tell you that The Housemaid,
yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm seeing with the packed audience,
is insane, I genuinely mean it. I'm really surprised by this movie. I'm really surprised by how much fun I had with this movie. Like, I knew I was probably gonna just at least enjoy it. I didn't expect to walk out being like, damn, that was like one of the most entertaining movies I've seen this year. Again, it's not perfect, and after talking with my wife,
probably not compared to Die My Love, but Die My Love is not really that big, but it's a good movie, like a good side part, a good, not, it's not mainstream like Avatar or any other movie, but it's definitely a good movie in its own right. So like, if I just quickly look at The Housemaid tickets, scheduled to see it right here at 8 o'clock. So as you can see, the movie is 2 hours and 11 minutes long, 2 hours and 41 minutes with trailers, because trailers are 30 minutes. I should know, I'm a trailer checker. At AMC, it's 30 minutes. So your steel meal fully packed, and my seat I believe is, let me see, where am I sitting? My wallet.
Like, there are some slight changes to the book.
Let me.
That she wasn't the biggest fan of, but she's still looking forward to seeing the movie. But I'm curious for you guys who have seen the book, are you okay with these changes? Have you gone and seen the movie? Or if you haven't read the book, did you enjoy this movie, or did you think it was kind of just a little bit too much? I overall really enjoyed the movie for just how insane and audacious it was. Like, genuinely, I kept saying to myself, what the fuck am I watching? But I still enjoyed it. So look out for my full review coming soon. The biggest takeaway I will say from this, though, is Amanda Seyfried is absolutely phenomenal in this. I think she just plays this character so well. Brandon's pretty damn good, too. I'm not still sold on the Batman stuff. And Sydney Sweeney, she's good. She's good.
Sydney Sweeney, who's been in approximately 437 films just this year, is in a new one. It's called The Housemaid. And
My bad. Look, I'm doing too much. I'm doing way too much. You wouldn't copy and shit. So. No, it duplicates the tab. I don't have time for this. And it will not work.
Sydney Sweeney, who's been in approximately 437 films just this year, is in a new one. It's called The Housemaid, and she co-stars with Amanda Seyfried, that actress who hasn't been in a good film since Mean Girls. And that is not a slight on Amanda Seyfried. I actually think
there was actually Megan Fox's film, Jennifer's Body, which is the first time I actually saw her.
She's an incredibly talented actress, but man, does she pick some terrible scripts to star in. After seeing the trailers for The Housemaid, though, I was pretty won over. I thought, you know what? I love me a good Hand That Rocks the Cradle type of thriller. This
It's funny, there's another actress that was in a movie like that. I haven't seen it yet, though.
This looks like it's fun. It looks a little spicy. I'm all in. And then I saw it was directed by Paul Feig, and I was instantly deflated. He's like 1 in 10 for me when it comes to his movie releases, but setting that aside, the film had enough going for it in the trailers. Does the final product? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you about today in a spoiler-free review. Let's begin. As I review The Housemaid, if you find yourself riveted by the commentary, feel free to subscribe to the show. Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. It's free of charge. It's quite a deal here. The Housemaid is rated R for swearing, simulated penetration, and a small amount of nudity. Penetration, short for penetration, of course. And that small amount of nudity is going to come from Sydney herself. You're going to find out exactly why she has such good genes. I mean, you've probably already seen them. She's naked more often than not, and I appreciate her for that. What I did not appreciate was her acting in this movie, or whatever the hell she was doing. Listen, as I stated, she was in a lot of stuff this year. I don't know if she just got burnt out when she got the script for this film, or if she didn't realize what kind of schlocky nonsense she was in. This is high-level trash you're watching here, folks. The housemaid is not to be taken seriously. Amanda Seyfried understood that. She got the assignment. I don't know what the hell Sydney Sweeney was acting in, but certainly not this film. What's even more perplexing is I just gave her a nice tip of the hat for her performance in Christie as the female boxer that 3 people saw in theaters, myself included. That was a lovely film and her performance was very good. Here, bad. She is such a stick in the mud to watch in this flick. And when the movie starts bringing the history of this character more into the spotlight, it makes her all the duller because she's not matching the character that's supposedly on the screenplay. Let's get to Amanda Seyfried, though. She is having a deliciously, devilishly good time here as this queen bee who runs the house. She lives in this extravagant home with her perfect husband, who looks to be a combination of 3 or 4 different actors, really getting a Chris Evans vibe from him. He's played by actor Brandon Sklenar, who I didn't think I had seen before, but it turns out I have in like 3 different movies. And maybe it's because he looks to be an amalgamation of 2 or 3 different actors that's throwing me off of ever seeing him before, but he's perfectly fine here. He's got the sculpted, rippling body, he's got the charm, he has that Colgate smile, and as the movie carries on further, we get to know the character more, he definitely becomes more fun. But back to Amanda Seyfried's character, Nina. She's married to Andrew, they have one kid who's kind of a trash doll, and they need help around the house. And that's where Sydney Sweeney's character, Millie, comes into the picture. She's very down on her luck, she's living out of her car, does not have a cent to her name, and she's in trouble with the law, so she really needs this job. And even though her lack of winning personality isn't going to turn any heads, she does have a good work ethic, and she's able to keep up with the chores around the place. Things seemingly are going okay for the first few days until a switch is flipped in Nina and she goes full-blown Megan at times, giving off a very creepy Barbie doll persona. And again, major props to Seyfried here, who in stature is tiny. She's a delicate little thing, but externally she's projecting such a powerful force to be reckoned with that you really can't help but be a little chilled around. And this Ice Queen is really going to put Millie through the ringer, as she has wild mood swings, freaking out at Millie for really no reason at all. And eventually, we get ourselves to the final act where the pieces all start to come together, because there's a lot more happening underneath the surface. There's the mysterious groundskeeper. There's this weird soundproof room up in the attic that Millie has to stay in. There's the controlling mother-in-law. There's the seemingly perfect husband that's really into proper hair care. And there's a lot of dirty laundry from a lot of these folks that's finally going to be known by the time the final act kicks in, which takes way too long to get to. This film, for some reason, is over 2 hours long. And my God, do you feel it? Much like those 2 Simple Favor movies that Paul Feig directed, this too is going to bring the audience on an exposition journey for the last act. And dear gods, does this go on and on and on to the point where I felt like I was watching a completely different movie. And I'm not necessarily knocking it, it just felt really clunky. But to the movie's credit, I was invested the entire time. I wanted to know what was going on underneath the hood. And I do think it sticks the payoff, as absurd as it can be. Keep in mind, again, this is not a serious film, as much as Sydney Sweeney might think it is. In fact, there's a good amount of humor to be found in this one, which, again, often not my favorite thing from Paul. We disagree on what is funny, especially when it came to that female Ghostbusters film he did. Remember that, Chestnut? Here, he pares back on things. You're not going to find a bunch of queef jokes mixed into this one. There's definitely some adult humor. You do have some of that hand that rocks the cradle stuff going on. And most importantly, even if you can kind of figure out where this is all going to end up, the journey to the destination is a good time. I was in a full theater. People seem to be having a really good time with it. I wouldn't say it was a favorite of mine this year. I was a little let down because I was actually really hyped up by the trailer, but this isn't a bad watch. In fact, I think this is one that's definitely worth checking out when it hits streaming. if you really love these actresses and you want to go out and see it, maybe to get a little bit of that side boob, you're going to get what you paid for. For everyone else, though, this is a movie you can comfortably wait and stream. All right, there you have it. My thoughts on The Housemaid. Not a bad little film. I want to know from you, though, did you see this one early, or are you a little bit more excited to check it out, or maybe less so because of what I said? And I'm back and forth on it. It's just one of those movies that had some solid ideas. It executed them well, but a weak performance does really hold it back. Plus a runtime that overstays its welcome by just a little bit. Let me know, though. Please leave a comment. Again, think of subbing to the show. Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I post movie reviews, TV show commentary, live streams, all entertainment-based, all the time, almost on a daily basis. Would love to have you stick around. All right, that's all I have for you. See you next time. Hey, thanks for watching the video. And
Yeah, so that's the benefit of watching it. Well, first of all, I don't, the bad side of watching a review or listening to a review or reading a review is you might get dissuaded, because I was thinking about not going to go see it ever so slightly, but I'm still going to go see it. But, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I definitely want to watch it with a packed theater, that's for sure. So we're just going to move on because
sticking around to the end. If you enjoy what I do here, maybe think of becoming a patron at patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. It would be a perfect time to join too, because I'm having a 30% off Cyber Monday through wherever I decide to take it. Join right now and you get that awesome benefit like these folks over here. And again, if you strike while the iron's hot, the discount will be applied. All right. Hopefully I see you next time. Take care.
The lesson is consistent. You gotta be careful who you let into your home, both physically and digitally. Protect your digital home with the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by NordVPN, the VPN service striving to help make our traversing this digital hellscape known as the internet a little safer and a little more secure. Nord has a myriad of services ranging from digital protection to quality of life conveniences. Like sponsoring this video, I do appreciate it. And now the domestic thriller is back, baby! Let's do it!
Domestic thriller, there we go.
Not that the domestic thriller ever, strictly speaking, left, but it kind of did. There was a time you can count on the domestic thriller being a part of the conversation, part of the box office anyhow. So The Housemaid's a film adaptation of a book of the same name published in 2022. Kind of wild. I feel like it takes longer than that for books to become movies. Not for The Housemaid. Not with the power of Paul Feig. This is directed by Paul Feig. I didn't know that until I watched the movie. This is none of the marketing material. I feel like there was a time it would have been like, oh, a Paul Feig film. I mean, he's done things since Ghostbusters. It's because of Ghostbusters. Anyhow, he brings us this adaptation, this domestic thriller. It stars Sydney Sweeney as Millie, who answers an ad for a live-in housekeeper. Amanda Seyfried plays Nina, the wife of the house. Brandon Sklenar plays her husband, who doesn't have his mustache this time around. Has he lost the source of all his powers? No, he's still great in the movie. There's that. I'm just used to seeing him as the archetype of the mustache that guys look at and they're like, next time I trim, that's gonna make me think maybe I shouldn't shave all of it. Anyhow, it is apparent not all is what it seems in this entire situation. Gonna keep it. This is gonna be a really difficult video to do, by the way, because the movie's very twisty and turny and slow reveals, and you know something's up, you know something's wrong, you don't know why, but you know you would want to get the fuck out of this house. Promise you that. So I'm gonna try to keep it vague while informing you, which in reality is probably like, hey, domestic thriller. It's a pretty good one. But that's not how I roll on this channel. You clocked in to watch me put in the work. Look, first of all, everybody in the movie does a solid job. Now, I always like it when it's a movie that takes place in one location, one house per se. I mean, there are a couple other locations in the movie, sure. But for the other 95% of the film, we're in this house with them all. If there was one weak link in this cast of three, they'd stand out like a sore thumb. It'd ruin it all. I mean, you got the man's man, the sweetheart, and everyone's favorite Google image search. Favorite actress? Don't know about that. People apparently don't show up to her movies per the box office reports, but they're all solid in the movie, and everybody has secrets of some sort. That's another thing, you know, you gotta humanize these characters while knowing that they're hiding something. In fact, for a portion of this movie, I was like, so this is like the remake of the remake to Single White Female that came out earlier this year, only more complex. Or nope, scratch that. Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I mean, to be fair, Single White Female and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle both came out the same year in 1992. Which is kind of my point of what I was talking about with the domestic thriller. It used to be a thing, now it's a comeback story. We all love a comeback story, even if it's a subgenre. But yeah, to the point, this does not just feel like a remake of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. There's more going on here, and I appreciate this movie for that. And it kind of flipped the script for me. Like, I'm not used to seeing Amanda Seyfried play the unsettling or crazy one. I can tell you that part because that is in the trailer, so there's that. This movie does go in very predictable directions, but again, there is payoff with those predictable directions. I mean, you have an attractive live-in housemaid and a husband. You know. At a point, I was kind of rolling my eyes like, yeah, of course it would go here. And there were other moments where I was like, I didn't think it would go here. Though, you ever see a movie in which it's not predictable on screen? Everything they do on screen is, well, they did it right. But you break the fourth wall for your answers as to what is going on. And you go, okay, I think this is what's going on. Oh, look at that, I was right. I mean, I don't know what you want to do with that information, but you know, there that is. You know what I like about some of the characters in this movie is they're not one note. They have layers and motivations to them that not only keeps the audience guessing, it's got to be really fun to play, just as an actor. I mean, the fact is, Paul Feig really knows his audience, and that audience, judging by my experience in the movie theater, is drunk chicks who can't shut the fuck up during the movie. I mean, you know, just say it. To be fair, there is an element of fun with that to a point. I was laughing. I was like, man, they are really into this. I mean, they're sitting right behind me, so that's going to wear out pretty quickly. And then soon after that, I just kind of got there. Not judging the movie on that. I'm saying if you go to this movie, be prepared. And if you stay home and wait for this movie to come out on streaming, people like that are the reason why. It's a bit long, no doubt. Maybe some corners could have been cut here and there. But there's actually a lot going on in the movie, and I don't know where you would necessarily do it. But in the end, I had a good time with this one. It's a thriller for some, a horror movie for others, but will make everybody cautious as to who they let into their world. I had myself a really good time with The Housemaid. No alcohol required. Alright, so The Housemaid, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's your favorite domestic thriller? Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
Thanks, Jeremy. Fast forward.
In this household, we are Team Nina. Amanda Seyfried acted hard enough to carry this on her majestic shoulders. We should thank her for that.
Nina! Where are they?
Hey, what's going on?
Billy threw away my PTA notes.
Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today, I'm reviewing The Housemaid. A quick bit of backstory.
The buffering. The buffering.
You up if you're new here. In addition to my regularly scheduled programming of film reviews, I also do source material videos where I will read a book that's going to be adapted and then I do a video about that book ahead of the film adaptation being released. I covered the first book in the Housemaid series back in January of this year, so now it's been almost a year since I read it, but now I've attended an early press screening and you're watching this review, which means the embargo has lifted, so here we are to talk about the adaptation. A lot of things have happened since I covered the source material, but for the sake of closure, dearly beloved, we're gathered here to say our goodbyes to the housemaid. She's not dead, but this is the last you'll hear me talk about her because about 90% of why I decided to still proceed and review this film is because Amanda Seyfried was cast to play Nina. She is the #1 reason why I requested to attend an early press screening. From the very beginning of this year, when I decided to cover this adaptation, the one resounding thought I had was that Amanda was going to deliver a performance that would be the best thing about the film. It would be a performance that would outshine any and every other merits the film might have, and guess what? I was entirely correct. Amanda Seyfried's performance is to die for. The Housemaid is titillating enough to satisfy fans of the genre, but any scene without Amanda immediately loses a notable amount of dramatic tension. For anyone unfamiliar, the basic non-spoiler premise of The Housemaid is that you have Millie, a young woman facing difficult life circumstances. She's applying for different jobs and does an interview to be a housemaid for the Winchester house. Nina Winchester is Amanda's character, and she's the one who interviews Millie. Her husband's name is Andrew, and her daughter's name is Cece. There is also a landscaper who works around the house, and his name is Enzo. Once Millie starts this job, tensions begin to rise and secrets can only stay hidden for so long. I'm going to keep this first part of this review as having minimal spoilers, and then I'm going to do a medium spoiler section, which is more so intended for people who have read the book already, so there's not as much of a need to tiptoe around everything in the plot. Also, I want to be able to talk a bit about some of the comparisons between the source material and this adaptation. All of the primary characters have more to them than what you are initially shown, so it's important for the actors to be able to play their material in such a way that you can hint at the other things that are lurking beneath their surface, but you also have to keep certain things hidden for the audience that hasn't read the book or looked up plot spoilers before watching for the first time. In that regard, as I've already said, Amanda is doing the best work. She is running laps around everyone else in this movie. I would also add that Brandon Sklenar did a decent job with showing more range than what I've seen from him before this. Previously, I have seen him in It Ends With Us and Drop, and in both of those films, he was good, but this film was a better showcase of what he's capable of as a performer. Enzo is significantly downsized from what's given to the character in the book, so I don't really feel like there's much for me to say about Michele Morrone being good or bad in the role. If you blink slowly, you just might miss the fact that he's in the story at all. As for Millie, well, she's there, she's in the movie. It's difficult to effectively discuss the dynamics between Millie and Nina without giving away plot spoilers in this section, but broadly speaking, if you think about other thrillers, be they regular or erotic, there's often a lot of dramatic tension and conflict between 2 or 3 characters. Obsessed, What Lies Beneath, Single White Female, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, just to name a few other examples. And in order to maintain the tension of the story and really keep the audience at a more heightened state as they're being immersed into whatever power plays or escalations are happening among the main characters, everyone needs to be performing at or above a particular standard. There is a significant disparity between Millie and Nina in the sense that whenever Nina's gone, especially in the first third of the film where you're trying to establish the characters, story, and stakes, it's a bit like having a table and then removing one of its legs. She needs to be there for the story to perform at its highest standard. I don't usually share my scores anymore in YouTube reviews because I want people to listen and focus first and foremost on qualitative feedback instead of just hyperfixating on quantitative feedback. If it's 5 stars on a first watch, I will still share that because it's 5 stars and those are the best of the best. If I were to make a graph of watching The Housemaid where the x-axis is the minutes into the runtime and the y-axis is the score I would give, you would see peaks and valleys that are directly correlated with whether or not Nina is in the scene. All of the Nina scenes, the score shoots up. She's somewhere else and you're focusing on other characters without her, it's going to dip either slightly or significantly. Beyond the performances, I do want to compliment the production design. The house is the primary location of the story and so much happens in it that it's the absolute most important location to get right. And there were some details I'm not going to talk about until we get into the next section of this review, but they were a well-designed part of the overall storytelling. Overall, I would say that this film is best recommended to fans of those sort of soapy erotic thrillers, fans of watching Amanda Seyfried act, and probably fans of the book as well. It's not an exact copy and paste of the source material, but the essence of the story is largely intact.
Why don't we go check your office?
You need to be more careful next time. You've ruined my entire day.
But now I would like to talk with medium spoilers. The main reveal and the main outcome or resolution of the story is something I won't say in full detail because this is still an early review, but we will get into some of the things that I wanted to talk about in a bit more detail. One of the opinions I didn't get into in the earlier section is whether or not the film warrants a sequel. There are 2 other books in the Housemaid series, which I also read this year in the context of just-in-case research. The ending of the Housemaid film is largely similar to how the first book ends, but being that Nina isn't in the second or third book, I don't see anything that would draw me in for adaptations of those. Considering how much less gripping and compelling the film is anytime Nina's not in the scene, there's little to suggest that those stories would be able to draw people in without her. This is the Nina Winchester show. I would much rather see director Paul Feig do a third Simple Favor film and have Amanda join that cast than I would any sort of expansion beyond the one and done housemaid story. Getting back to the production design, one of the details that I thought was excellent, but somehow also underutilized, was a very specific choice in the set decoration. If you've seen the film's trailer, you might remember that there's a point where Millie is cleaning. Specifically, she's dusting a sort of decorative chandelier that's hanging from the ceiling. One of the details of that is there are these long strands of what appear to be or heavily resemble long tresses of blonde hair. I assumed they were going to directly circle back to those and talk about them as being heinous, outrageous, absurd decorations, but they just never directly address them. I still think they're brilliant insofar as choosing to decorate the set of the house in this way, but narratively, I would have thought and hoped that we would have a conversation about them, because as soon as I laid my eyes upon them, I found them to be utterly diabolical. So diabolical that they would need to be directly called out at some point in the story. The spiral staircase and the design of it feels almost claustrophobic in a way. It's just so tightly wound, and the feeling of that is exactly what this story needs and how this setting should feel. Even with the house being as large and luxurious as it is, the staircase looks exactly how it needs to. The attic is something that I saw being discussed back when the film's trailer was first released. Essentially, people who had read the book felt as though they were surprised that the room looked so much nicer when Nina is first showing the room to Millie than how it was described when Millie first moved in. I think that to have the attic look immediately scary, suspicious, or threatening would cause problems with the uninitiated audience who hasn't read the book. If you make the attic look like a problem, they're going to struggle to believe or invest in the emotional or narrative stakes of the story, because why would you accept a job that requires you to move in somewhere that looks like a red flag? Yes, Millie is in a predicament, and that desperation is a motivating factor for how she behaves, some of the choices she makes in either version of this story, but also, the film is overall presenting something that seems idyllic, and then as you make your way through the story, the layers begin to get peeled back so you can uncover what's really going on and what secrets characters are trying to keep hidden. The attic is part of that larger creative vision for this adaptation. I wanted to mention the soundtrack, briefly. There is an absolutely fabulous Nina moment that was soundtracked with a song that I was beyond delighted to hear. You will know it when you hear it. More of that, please. More songs from that album in movies being made today. Please and thank you. With this being an adaptation of a book, I wasn't all that picky about how close or faithful it would be to the book. The essence of the story is largely the same, although many details were slightly altered. The one change that I found to be more surprising is one that happens in the second half of the film. I'm not going to say what it is, and I'm casting a wide net of when it takes place, but all I will state about this change is that it was one that I enjoyed because of the space that it created for Nina to be able to do something that was different from the source material. As it stands now, the housemaid is mixed in its execution. Had this story been reworked in such a way to not follow the book as closely as it does, it might have landed better as a film in its totality. Given the revelations that come about Millie's character further into the film or the book, the truth about her character and what she's capable of don't quite land as well as it should because of the lack of dramatic tension in her performance leading up to those reveals. Watching Millie wander through this story before then gives off more of an impression that she's doing exactly that, wandering aimlessly. In order for her arc to feel earned, there needs to be something deeper to ground the character, something that the audience can feel so that those character revelations can effectively land when they are revealed in the story. If this was going to be the casting, the story would have been better off being reworked to expand its focus to be first and foremost on Nina. If you've read the book, you know that there is an alternating
What is about San Francisco? But these people keep jumping on me. This guy
point of view, the second chunk that follows Nina's point of view, and then the third chunk of the story switches back between the two. The film largely follows that same structure, which is a problem when one of your leads is performing the material with a similar range to Enzo, a character whose story has been downsized so significantly that he's hardly in the film at all. Despite the disparity between the two main characters, the second act is more or less the primary reason to watch this film, if you're wanting to watch the film, that is. Upon reading the book, I favored the third part. If you've read the book,
So
you
this
will
is
know
when
exactly
that-
why that is. But because of the fact that Nina is the best part of the film, and the second part is basically all Nina, it's the most consistently watchable part. Overall, to reiterate, if there's any reason for you to watch this, it's Amanda's performance. Watching her devour every bit of material she was given in this has further increased my anticipation for The Testament of Anne Lee. I don't know yet if I will end up reviewing that on YouTube because I'm not sure yet when it will release in cinemas for me to be able to watch it, but either way, I will be watching it.
We are back with not one, but two acting powerhouses, Amanda Seyfried and Sydney Sweeney. They have teamed up to bring the best-selling book, The Housemaid, to the big screen. It's the story of a struggling woman starting over as a live-in helper for a wealthy couple. But what begins as a dream job quickly turns into a world of danger and deceit.
Okay, so the job is mostly organizing, cleaning, light cooking, if you're up for that.
Oh, absolutely. I love to cook.
Amazing. And then you would be helping me with my daughter. She's Cecilia, Cece. She's 7 years old, and well, she's amazing.
Well, I can't wait to meet her.
Oh, good. Okay. Would you like a grand tour so you can see what you're getting yourself into?
Sure.
And Sydney, good morning.
Good morning.
See, that's like where things start, and it really unravels from there.
Yeah,
wouldn't
no
you
one
say?
is as they seem.
Nothing.
Great.
Can I start before we get into the movie with a happy birthday to
Thank you
you,
very
Miss
much.
Amanda
Yeah,
Seyfried,
thanks.
starting your
Yes,
birthday here on the
I
Today
am.
Show?
I'm starting here. Yeah, couldn't be better.
Your mom might be watching, perhaps.
She's definitely
If you
watching.
want to say hello, you can say hi to your mom. Yeah.
Hi, mommy. And my kids. They have a 2-hour delay. Hi, babies.
They'll
Hi,
wa-
Tommy.
There you
Hi,
go.
Finn. Can I keep going?
Yeah, the whole family.
No kidding.
Yeah, we'll forget the movie and go through the entire family. Congratulations on this, Sydney. I was just telling you guys, people are just so amped for this, partly because the two of you are in it, but also because of the huge success of this book. You, I understand, read the book a couple of years ago and were like, we've got to do this.
I mean, who doesn't read this book and just freak out over it? It's delicious. It's juicy. There's so many layers to it. I was obsessed with it.
And so, Amanda, you say this is one of the best, favorite, most exciting characters you've ever
It's
dug
absolutely
into.
the most fun role I've ever been
Really?
given the opportunity to play. Yeah, it's I've never had the space to go so wild without giving any spoilers. Yeah, and Paul Feig is a master
The director, Paul Feig,
Yeah.
Bridesmaids, and a million other things that people love.
Yeah.
So you've been a fan of Amanda's for some time, Sydney. So when you read the book, you were like, Paul Feig and Amanda Seyfried?
There was no one else. I was like, please, please, I hope you want to do this.
So was there some recruiting involved, or how did this work?
My agents were like, Paul Feig, Sydney Sweeney, New Jersey, and I'm like, I'm in. I don't need to read the script. No, but truly, I knew this book was such a beloved book, and I love the fact that we had the opportunity to work together with Paul. It was perfect. And New Jersey.
And Jersey keeps coming back to Jersey. I'm from Jersey,
Love
too,
it.
so respect
It was great.
that.
The crew, they were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
We made ourselves a home.
We did.
There.
You know, it's watching the two of you and the way this thing, as I said, kind of unravels, Sydney. It's like, okay, she's in for a job. We know there's a little bit of a troubled past. We learned that. But you can't imagine how aggressively insane things will get from there.
No.
What was it like just for the two of you to be in these scenes as this relationship kind of escalates together?
We were having so much fun. I think because it was so... There were so many twists and turns, and it was crazy and
dark at times.
Yeah, and unexpected, and we were just having a really great time.
I know.
doing
We
it.
also we kind of are on the same page when it comes to our process, and
supposed to be,
and so we
like,
just had
this one
fun.
is supposed
I know. I
to
mean, you
be
have to bring
taken-
levity to some dark content, and I don't know. I think the dynamic we have in the movie is kind of electric because of the fact that we got along so well.
Yeah. Is it true there was something called a girls' room in the house where you were shooting, where you guys could just go and hang?
There was
and
just
do,
there was a
I don't know
big
what.
bed. It was
there was a
someone's
big
bedroom,
room,
and then
yeah.
we just all sit on the bed.
Yeah, but he said
And,
we're
And like knit and crochet.
Well, I crocheted.
Yeah.
Crocheted.
I was like in a hole of yarn, and then there was like a part of the bed that I didn't take over, and then everybody would sit around.
We'd like lay there and sit.
Yeah, our friends would sit on the floor. I mean, it was cozy.
Just decompressed, covered in makeup, blood, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, there was a lot of blood.
A lot.
Wait, spoilers.
That's yeah. We can't
What?
spoil.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no
not on,
blood.
Not on you guys.
No,
Sorry.
Nina's perfect.
Right, everything's great.
Yeah.
The movie's incredible. Got to ask you about Euphoria, season 3. You just wrapped shooting. I know you can't say a word about it, but
can't.
what generally can people expect? Because they're so excited for this.
I mean, Cassie and all of Euphoria, it's a crazy season. She's really discovering herself this year. And it's going to be a wild one.
I have no doubt that it will be a wild one. As much as we can say for now. I mentioned it's your birthday. We have a little something for you, Miss Amanda. Is Al Roker nearby? Al Roker? I think, is this your first cake of the day, I hope?
Oh, it's my first cake of today.
Yeah, just of the day.
First of many. Happy birthday. What a
From our friends at Magnolia Bakery.
Oh my God, thank you so much. This is from Al.
And from Magnolia, which is as good as it gets.
And
Good
from
stuff.
Magnolia. I'm just gonna take this. I'm just gonna eat it right now.
Yeah,
All right,
just
go
get
right
your hands
ahead.
to that. Well,
We need a fork.
While you dig in, Amanda, there's one other thing.
What?
I know you made a very dear friend shooting Mamma Mia 2.
Yeah.
And she's on the phone right now and wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Are you there, ma'am?
Yeah, hey babe, how are you?
Hey,
It's
Grandma. I love you. You're my.
How are you?
I am better now. I miss you.
Oh God, baby, I wouldn't get up for anybody this early.
3 hours early. I'm early. I love you so much.
Except I have to tell you something. I'm a huge fan of this show. I don't see this part. I said.
This is.
Oh.
You cut.
Did we leave Cher? Right before she was going to sing, too.
Yeah, she was gonna sing her greatest hits. Oh, there you are.
Cher, is there any chance? Do you want to do a little happy birthday? I don't want to put you on the spot.
You don't
I know
have
it's
to do that.
early.
You don't have to.
No, you know what? I just came from the doctor yesterday, and I'm not in my best voice. Okay,
Understood.
so no, baby, just
You sound pretty damn good to me.
remember.
I love
Just
you.
remember, I sang.
Okay.
Cher, thanks for calling in. We always love talking
my
to you.
favorite lady.
Come see us in
Thank you.
person
Okay.
soon.
Oh my God, you're the best. I love
Pretty
you.
good start to your birthday, huh?
Happy birthday.
I love you.
And by the way, on a footnote to the
Thank
Mamma
you.
Mia story, maybe Mamma Mia 3, we get a little Sydney Sweeney involved in.
Yeah, and then you can work with Cher.
That's out there.
Just work with you. I'm good. I think. Listen, it would just be a dream. Let's just
do
get
it.
going on
Let's
it.
do it. Let's get
What
going.
are we waiting for?
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this movie. It's going to go nuts. People are going to love it. We'll remind everyone, The Housemaid hits theaters on December 19th. Thanks, guys. Happy birthday, Amanda.
You were literally just talking
Guys.
about Magnolia.
I know, and another cake in my lap.
Just the first of many. too.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're...
Okie dokie then. So we're gonna get into a little bit of Avatar. I kind of feel like I'm gonna spoil it a little bit for myself, but I want to go ahead and get into the Avatar playlist. So we'll start off with Deal Me Johns, I suppose.
Avi, it looks like they're getting the vitamins and minerals their bodies need. That's right, which brings me to the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Groons, a comprehensive daily gummy that comes in individual packs of 8 gummies, giving you a healthy allotment of your daily vitamins and minerals, promoting brain and gut health. Groons contains 100% of your daily needs for safe vitamins and 25% of your daily needs for certain minerals you're actually not supposed to have in excess of. You ever see that? Some products are like 500% of your daily allotment. You're like, is that okay? Is it healthy? Am I just supposed to swallow 20% of this thing? I appreciate that Groons puts in the care for your health on a product that's supposed to support health. And my favorite part, whereas other healthy products you gotta choke down for the greater good, Groons on the other hand is actually tasty. A vitamin posing as a snack that you can sneak into the movie theater. So click the link below or scan the QR code to get yourself up to 52% off your Groons order. Get your daily vitamins and minerals in a fun, tasty package. And thank you once again to Groons for sponsoring this video. I do appreciate it. And now part 3 of James Cameron's CGI extravaganza saga comes out this Friday. Gonna be attached to an Avengers Doomsday trailer, I hear, so let's talk about it. So Avatar Fire and Ash is part 3 of James Cameron's Avatar saga. We once again follow the family of Sullys as the humans are trying to make their push to take over Pandora. But there's something that happens that gives the humans an opportunity through possible reverse engineering of breathing on Pandora without any masks. Humans being able to breathe on Pandora would definitely take away a handicap that is holding them back from just sweeping the place entirely. Alright, so we have a new Avatar movie. This movie once again stars Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and I gotta give the stars praise in this video. The stars being everyone who worked on the CGI for this film. Stars, heroes, the lot of them. This film looks incredible. Avatar always has. Whenever an Avatar movie has come to theaters, it's always been head and shoulders above anything that's come to theaters before it. And whereas I believe James Cameron is rolling with the same tech for Fire and Ash as he was with Way of Water, maybe it's the Dolby Vision 3D, high frame rate, whatever. But watching Fire and Ash, I was like, this looks much better than Way of Water does on Disney+. I mean, this movie's about as live action as any Disney live action remake of a Disney animated classic that both of which are about as real. Thing is, James Cameron commits to the point where you go, yeah, live action. Absolutely. There are moments in this movie where you're seeing the water, you know, it's the shallow water brushing up against rocks, and you see the foam that... You're like, nothing's real. You don't think of it at the time. You think of it on the drive home, and you're like, nothing I fucking saw existed in the real world. I mean, there are live action actors in these movies, but for the most part, for the rest of the 99% of the film, nothing on screen exists in the corporeal world that I roll in. It's absolutely incredible. The action sequences as well. That's right, I'm talking about the best parts of the movie, involving CGI and action sequences. CGI action sequences, I mean, they're commonplace at this point, a dime a dozen in any given blockbuster film. I just see James Cameron Avatar movies as that bar where he goes, this is where we should be right now. And I felt like after the first Avatar movie, other movies had a level of realism to aim for. Then there are other movies where the studio just goes, fuck it, that's good enough. To be fair, there's a whole conversation about overworked, underpaid CGI departments and employees that don't have the time or resources to get the job done. But it's refreshing to see James Cameron in an Avatar film show the world, hey, technologically, this is actually where we're supposed to be at. But when it comes right down to it, when the big throwdown's going down and it's people and Na'vi fighting with animals getting involved, like Way of Water did, like the first Avatar movie did, it's absolute spectacle. What can I say? It's a blast. That said, the movie's kind of ridiculous too. There's something that happens in the movie with Spider. I buy one of the things. I do not buy the other. It's completely ridiculous. One of the, I think it's in the trailer. Hold on. Yep, okay, it's in the trailer. So, Spider, something happens to him. Awa grants him the ability to breathe the air of Pandora. That does lead to some emotional moments. One in particular, I thought it was the best scene in the film. Some moral dilemmas going down, but I feel like James Cameron is erasing that which made Spider more compelling. I mean, at the very least, more interesting, you know? He's this human being who needs a mask to breathe on Pandora. The only family he's really known have been the Sullys. He has his Na'vi family, but he has constant reminders. The fact that he can't connect with Awa. He can't do the thing, take a braid, link with the animals, or any of the spirit trees. The fact that he always has the mask. That he has these constant reminders that remind him he is the alien. And for some reason, James Cameron's like, yeah, but let's melt all that stuff away and just make him feel more basic per Pandora. Not only did I not buy it, it just came across as silly. I can feel the tapping of keyboards right now. People going, yeah, that's kind of Avatar. I never saw them as silly though. I saw them as human stories being told through aliens. A human being altered by some sort of biological reaction per Awa's design, I can buy it. Him getting the thing in the back of his head that allows him to link with animals and spirit trees, that's a step too far for me, I guess. Tell you what, the most interesting part of this film are the fire Na'vi. We've seen spiritual Na'vi in the forest. We've seen spiritual Na'vi with the ocean. We have not seen heathen Na'vi who have walked away from Awa. That's interesting to me. You actually see it in their character. They don't have that balance of life on Pandora, that need to live up to Awa. They don't have that spiritual sense of zen that the other Na'vi have shown. No, they're more feral, more brutal. They're savage. You see that with their fighting technique. Their story is so interesting. However, in this movie, they're kind of used as wild cards. And I get that the humans would use those Na'vi as wild cards. I just wish we got more with them, because the most interesting part of this story is Quaritch making friends with the fire Na'vi. Alright, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna be real. That fire Navi chick is too fine. Oh, she's not even the same species. What, you didn't romance Tali Zoravas Normandy in Mass Effect 2 or 3? No? You're lying! I know that's not the only reason I like the fire Navi. I do think they're the most interesting part of the movie. I'm also saying
that was some mean bush.
I do like that Loak, Jake Sully's youngest son, his surviving son, is basically his coming-of-age story. Bummer is he kind of disappears for a bit of the movie for him to do it. But you know, he's dealing with some stuff. He's becoming his own man, dealing with social anxiety. At least I've heard that's what that gesture means. Also, and to be fair, I do feel the music did step up from Way of Water to Fire and Ash, at least in some moments. And it's gotta be really tough to have your music live in the shadow of James Horner, who made the overall musical theme and tone of Pandora. But Way of Water and Fire and Ash just don't have that musical punch the original had with James Horner's score. Way of Water, the music I could think of, I recognize from the original Avatar. And that's a thing this movie falls into as well. You know how Way of Water borrowed from the first Avatar in moments? Fire and Ash borrows from Way of Water and the original Avatar. Have a little variety in life, man. Jeez. There's a big thing he pulls from the first Avatar movie. I was like, that's Avatar 1. It doesn't really mean much now because I've already seen this before. I've seen it done before. The first time in the first Avatar movie, yeah, it was really cool. Fire and Ash would have been a solid time to step it up. But instead, I walked out of Fire and Ash feeling numb to the experience, well, because I've seen the previous 2 Avatar films. And there were moments in this movie that should have felt bigger, I felt just came across as a bit unceremonious. This was the moment for a solid jaw drop, you know, to have the audience go home like it's Empire Strikes Back. Like, where do we go from here? I can't wait to see. Bring on the next movie 15 years from now. But I walked out of the theater with the assurance that Avatar 4 would feel like the same thing over, like 3 did from 2 to 1. But I suppose this formula makes these Avatar films billions of dollars. Does he break the mold, go in a new direction for the sake of art, or does he do the same play that makes a couple $1 billion per Avatar film? This movie is equal parts visually impressive, but also thematically disappointing. James Cameron's just found a comfortable, familiar routine and formula. He doesn't want to step outside of it. For a movie that is over 3 hours long and has pretty good momentum, James Cameron's really good about that, having a long-ass movie not feel like a long-ass movie. I mean, maybe the movie will make $2 billion. The studio's obviously trying to get it to, because they're going to make you watch the movie 4 times over to watch the new Avengers Doomsday trailer that comes out each week for 4 weeks. They're going to try to get you to double dip, no triple dip, no quadruple dip. I mean, I guess that's a way to do it. The internet didn't exist. Bummer is, this is the movie that made me think maybe at this point James Cameron is a 2-trick pony. To be fair, those are 2 damn entertaining tricks. But when you're constructing a saga around family, invaders, conflict, revenge, grief, the whole, hey, it's technologically amazing and such a blast of a roller coaster to watch in theaters ceases to be enough. So yeah, worth watching when it comes out on streaming, which would lose you 90% of the reason to watch Avatar Fire and Ash. But there that is. Alright, so Avatar Fire and Ash, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Have you liked the Avatar movies thus far? Have you been like, nope, from the beginning? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
That's random. Okay, thank you, Jerry.
James Cameron is taking us back to Pandora in Avatar Fire and Ash, but does it measure up to the last 2, or will it leave you feeling blue? I'll tell you right now. This video is brought to you by AG1. Go to drinkag1.com/Dan Merle to get their best offer and free gifts while supplies last. And stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Merle here with my review of Avatar Fire and Ash, the 3rd film in the Avatar saga, and if James Cameron is to be believed, perhaps the final movie if it does not perform to its Avatar-sized requirements at the box office. Like 2022's Avatar The Way of Water, Fire and Ash was written by Cameron alongside Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, which is not really a surprise considering that much of the production for the 2nd and 3rd movie was done simultaneously. While The Way of Water skipped ahead several years, Fire and Ash is set in the aftermath of the last movie, with Jake Sully and Neytiri back among the Metkayina water clan, grieving the loss that they suffered at the end of Part 2. Neytiri in particular is taking this loss hard and regards Spider, the family's human adopted son, with suspicion after the revelation that he's the son of Miles Quaritch, the former military commander who's now reborn as a Na'vi avatar himself. This sounds kind of like a soap opera, actually, when you put it all together. Quaritch is back to his old ways, working with the military to exploit the planet Pandora, and there's also a new clan in play, the Volcano.
I mean, I know that people like Jimmy Johns think it's the same thing over and over again. But to me, it's that one good movie that I want to get excited about, that I just want to tone my brain off. Even though my brain's technically going to tone on, I know it is. I want to tone my brain off. So, and enjoy it. Because of course, you love the visuals, and pardon me, I'm just also writing down my list of trailers that I got to check. But the thing is, I want to turn my brain off. So, I have got yet another interview in just under an hour.
Dwelling Mengquan, led by Varang, played by Una Chaplin. I was a fan of Avatar: The Way of Water, not for its groundbreaking story, but for its imagination. I admired that James Cameron took the years between the first and the second film and introduced us to an entirely new part of Pandora that we'd never seen before. And with fire so prominent in the title of this movie, I was excited to see him do it again. These movies, the Avatar films, are spectacle, first and foremost. That's why both of them have done so well. So I think it's a smart move to make each film distinct from the last to give the audience a new experience every time. Except that James Cameron didn't really do that this time. While the Fire Clan is new, a lot of the elements from The Way of Water are actually recycled for this film. The major battles mostly take place in the same places as the last movie. The creatures we see are mostly recycled from the first two movies. And there were even some shots that were so similar to shots in The Way of Water that I actually briefly thought that we might be flashing back to that movie. The whale-like Tulkun are back, as are the evil whalers with all of their boats and submarines, and much of the climactic battle sequence is kind of a restaging of what we saw last time. Instead of shooting two movies simultaneously, each with a distinct feel and vision, we really just got two Avatar Way of Waters. Personally, I wouldn't have minded another 10-year gap for James Cameron to dream up a whole new pocket of Pandora, which might have also left time for him to direct a non-Avatar film for the first time since 1997. To put that gap into YouTube terms, Mr. Beast has never existed on a planet where James Cameron has put a new narrative film out in theaters that wasn't an Avatar movie. In short, I felt like a lot of the imagination that I admired in the last film was gone, and that leaves story and spectacle.
What did he just say about Mr. Beast?
For the first time since 1997. To put that gap into YouTube terms, Mr. Beast has never existed on a planet where James Cameron has put a new narrative film out in theaters that wasn't an Avatar movie. In short, I felt like a lot of the imagination that I admired in the last film was gone, and that leaves story and spectacle. On a story level, like the other two movies, Fire and Ash is okay. It's nothing really groundbreaking. There are some suspenseful beats and some family drama, but I can't say the movie ever really surprised me in any significant way, and I actually think the final scene is an almost laughably bad way to wrap up the movie. I'm sure that people who might be more emotionally invested in these characters might be more into it than I was, but it left me mild, not bored, but not particularly engaged either. So with imagination and story getting mid-tier grades, that leaves spectacle. Luckily, James Cameron is still able to deliver on that front. There is one battle sequence in the movie that is astonishingly big in scope and scale, bigger than anything that we have seen in this franchise before. And for those 15 or 20 minutes, I was absolutely transfixed. It's what I'd been waiting to see for the previous 2 hours, and it's really well done. I also liked some of the individual set pieces. There's one that plays with the forces of gravity. There's another one involving giant airships. Fire and Ash does not lose a step in the spectacle department, and if the movie had been 2 hours or maybe even 2.5 hours, I think that spectacle might have carried more of the movie's weight. But at 3 hours and 17 minutes, Fire and Ash is the longest movie in the Avatar franchise, 5 minutes longer than The Way of Water, although it feels longer than that. And while the runtime flew by for me in the previous two films
because we were being introduced to so many new things, when you've already seen almost everything, the movie doesn't go by quite as fast. Had Fire and Ash really invested in the fire side of things in the way that it invested in water the last time, then I think that things could have been different. But for the first time, I felt like this Avatar film was derivative on both a story and a franchise level. It delivers more of the same, and James Cameron has trained me not to expect that when he takes me to Pandora. The saving grace of the film, along with the incredible effects, is the cast, particularly Zoe Saldana as Neytiri. Her performances in all 3 movies have been great, and she also, I think, has gotten the best writing of any character, including Sam Worthington's Jake Sully, who was our initial gateway into this world. If only there was a word for a character who serves as the audience's surrogate being into a new and exciting world. I'm sure there is. I can't think of it right now. Stephen Lang continues to be an effective heavy, and Una Chaplin brings a menace to her character, the new villain. The Varang clan actually has a really interesting backstory that I wish the movie had delved into even further, instead of mostly turning them just into a basic opposing army. Jack Champion's Spider gets an enhanced role in the movie due to being firmly entrenched in both worlds now. It's an enthusiastic performance, but I cannot imagine that it's easy as an actor to be the only person in a sea of other actors who are wearing bodysuits and cameras strapped to their faces. That's got to be a challenge. The visual effects, no shocker, are world class, as you would expect. Any awards attention that the movie receives on that front is well deserved. My only issue with the film technically was that the screening that I was in was projecting using HFR, or high frame rate. Basically, a movie usually is projected at 24 frames per second. HFR projects the film at 48 frames per second, which gives everything a very smooth and fluid feel. Filmmakers like James Cameron and Peter Jackson are very enthusiastic about HFR. They feel that it enhances the immersion with a movie like this. I don't know, call me a relic, but I don't like it. It makes the movie feel like a cheap TV show to me. The whole HFR thing is purely an aesthetic preference, but if I were to watch the movie again, I would choose to watch it in 3D, obviously, which I think is an absolute must because the work there is top of the line. But I would watch it at 24 frames per second. If you're not a fan of HFR, I would recommend checking your theater listings before you buy your ticket to see how the film's going to be projected. James Cameron was recently asked about people who didn't like HFR, and as he does anytime Avatar is criticized, he simply pointed to the scoreboard and said, this is an actual quote, "I think $2.3 billion says you might be wrong on that." Because as we all know, money is the ultimate and only arbiter of right or wrong. I've more or less unreservedly enjoyed the last 2 Avatar movies as theatrical experiences, even though I acknowledge the same story stuff as everybody else. Avatar 1 and 2 both captivated me throughout the run of the film with the sheer scope of James Cameron's vision. I'm somewhat less enthusiastic about this one. When the movies aren't delivering a lot that's new, you're kind of left to ponder all the other stuff that doesn't feel as fresh either. I saw both of the previous 2 films in theaters twice, and I was excited to see them twice. I need a really good reason to go back and see this one, and I don't know, maybe that's going to be reflected in the box office gross for this movie, maybe it won't. That remains to be seen. I don't usually seek out what other critics have said before I do my reviews, but I was lucky enough to see Fire and Ash a couple weeks ago, and some of those early reactions in the ensuing, 2 weeks have found their way to me. Some critics seem to kind of agree with me. Others have said that this is just as good as the other 2. Well, what do I know? I'm just some guy without $2.3 billion in my pocket. If I was grading this just on visuals and beauty, this would be a see it now, because this is often a breathtakingly beautiful film. But when you're on breathtakingly beautiful film part 3, I think you also have to keep things fresh in other areas, and Avatar, Fire and Ash didn't really do that for me. Honestly, on my personal scale, I can't go any higher than the upper reaches of it's fine for this movie. Maybe I'm taking these effects in this world for granted, but that's the danger of franchise filmmaking. What was once groundbreaking can become expected, and if you can't up the ante and offer something new, then you risk going from unprecedented to familiar. So those are my thoughts on Avatar, Fire and Ash. What do you think? Is reviewing an Avatar film one of the most futile actions a movie critic can take, right next to giving a negative review to a Minions movie? Let me know down in the comments below. And before we go, I'm going to thank the sponsor for this review, AG1. A lot of people like to put off getting healthier until after the holidays, but the truth is there isn't a right or wrong time to get healthier. There's just right now. And AG1 is one way that you can start prioritizing yourself and your health today. Anyone who's tried to meaningfully change their habits can tell you that it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. And that's something that I've struggled with in the past. I think most people probably have. AG1 helps you with that by simplifying your nutrition in one scoop that contains a multivitamin, pre and probiotic, superfoods, and antioxidants. One scoop in 8 ounces of water and you're done in 20 seconds. I've been using AG1 for quite a while, and when we talk about consistency, I think that variety is an important part of that, and AG1's got you covered even more now with new flavors, including original flavor, citrus, berry, and tropical. When you're drinking or doing the same thing every day, it's great to have that variety, and AG1 now offers even more choices for me to start my day. AG1 has over 50,000 verified 5-star reviews and comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Go to drinkag1.com/Dan Murrell to get their best offer. For a limited time only, you can get a free AG1 duffel bag and free AG1 welcome kit with your first subscription order only while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/Dan Murrell, drinkag1.com/Dan Murrell. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this review, and thank you for watching. As always, be sure to stay tuned right here for the latest in movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.
Hey, yo, where the Navi girls at? Where them Navi girls at?
Such a fucking
Yeah,
ass.
never seen a hybrid quite like me before, huh? And I come with a Navi name too. Omar. Let's review Avatar Fire and Ash. Avatar Fire and Ash is the third film in James Cameron's Avatar
dumb
series.
Latino.
We once again follow the
Dumbass
Sully family
Latino.
who have now become people of water. Dealing a lot with the repercussions of everything they faced in the last movie, things are only about to get tougher for them when a tribe of Fire Na'vi come into the picture, causing havoc. The Sully family must once again band together to fight an evil threat. And that's all, pretty much. Without any spoilers, you guys, this will be a spoiler-free review. Admit it. You'd link ponytails with me. But we are
No,
here
I
now
wouldn't,
with the
but I
third
just killed you.
Avatar film, and it is pretty funny. I went all out like this for Avatar. If you're wondering, Chris, what's with the leather jacket, the chain? My roleplay mind thought is I am a Na'vi movie YouTuber 30, maybe 3,000 years into the future of the Na'vi, and Avatar Fire and Ash is the third film in the biography of my planet. Oh, dude, I can't believe it happened like that, man. They really had a fire clan? Crazy. They didn't even have Pantalk back then. No crazy dances, yo. So I'm a Na'vi set in modern times in the future. Does that help you out? Okay,
Nope.
that's what I was going for. But my opinion when it came to the Avatar movies has gone up and down. I really just wasn't all that big of a fan of the first movie. I didn't think it was awful, but I certainly did think it was overhyped, and I was so shocked it became the biggest movie in the world. So then whenever the 10 years went by and they decided to make a second movie, really did not care. I was like, all right, I guess I'll check it out, and I was blown away. Way of Water turned me into a believer, and that's why you see me going all out like this, because I was extremely excited to see what Fire and Ash would do in the next chapter that James Cameron has in store for us, because he's mentioned he's got like a fourth movie, a fifth movie, ideas to go back to Earth and all that war. I'm like, I would like to see that now, Jimmy Cameron. So looking into the third movie, is the hype still there? I'm not gonna lie. Omar the Na'vi movie reviewer came out a little underwhelmed. But let me start off with things I did like about this movie. I don't think it needs to be said, but I'm still gonna say it. Of course, the visual effects are top notch. I mean, that's what you expect when going into an Avatar movie. And yes, they somehow still find a way to make these movies look absolutely amazing. At the press screening I saw it, we saw it in true Dolby Vision with those big old bulky glasses, the frame rate looking like it was the most expensive PlayStation game ever made. And sometimes you can look at that as a negative. I'm looking at what PlayStation graphics are gonna look like when the PS10 comes out. That's what it felt like watching Avatar Fire and Ash. The Na'vi skin is like so believable, the water effects, and all the all-out war and action that happens in here, because that's something else that still remains awesome in these movies, is the amount of mayhem and war. I mean, when you get to the third act of this film, it is as big as it's gotten. And it's not just like centralized to one location. It's people fighting in the air, in the ground, in water, and all of it just looks spectacular. Like every second going by, you're like, that was $1 million. There's another million. There's another million. Wow, this is an expensive looking movie, man. But that remains true with every Avatar movie, and it didn't change here. When it came to the Fire Tribe that was introduced, oh, so excited, and I don't think they disappointed. I think you already have a lot to live up to when you say there's a Fire Na'vi tribe. But what the story did with it in these tribe members who feel betrayed by Awe, the nature god in the Pandora planet, they feel betrayed because their village got swept away Pompeii style from a big volcano. And so this ends up making them such violent, ruthless characters. Whenever they interact with those who still believe in Awe or are trying to live peacefully in Pandora, they just take pleasure in ruining your day. There's other things they do to these Na'vis that I had to like cover my mouth and go, oh, not my ponytail. Yeah, I got a ponytail. I forgot to show y'all that. But branching off the Fire Tribe, the other thing that I found like the biggest highlight of this movie is the dynamic, the lead Fire Tribe member named Varang, played by Una Chaplin. Her interactions and scenes with Colonel Kekrich, which I still butcher that name, so I'm just going to refer to him as Colonel from now on. But the dynamic that they form through the course of this movie is caliente, spicy, and honestly made for some really interesting story points and things that I feel like they're setting up in future installments. The Colonel himself has just become a really great villain to follow, so giving him someone else that's equally as evil that he could bounce off of and even use to his advantage, I was really liking those moments. There's even some cool things they do where the Colonel at times is forced to kind of put his differences aside with Jake Sully, and those scenes I really liked. And touching on a little bit more about the things I said that they're building for future installments, since James Cameron has just been making these movies non-stop year after year, and he keeps saying, yeah, I got plans for a fourth, a fifth, maybe a sixth. I do look at these sometimes as like, okay, what is the grander picture that they're going to tell? And those story beats that they throw in here, that's what I really did like. A lot of them have to do with the character of Spider. There's something that happens to Spider early on in the movie that at first I was like, okay, this feels like lazy writing. And obviously they just got tired of having to do this and this with the character, so we're going through this whole scene just so they don't have to. But no, that didn't end up being the case. The thing that happens to Spider early on in the movie becomes a huge plot point, and I really like the idea that they were tackling in the movie and the repercussions that had on Pandora and everyone else living on it. That then made it feel like, okay, so this isn't a lazy story choice just so they didn't have to do this with the character. This actually is like gonna impact the universe greatly. And so it was like those biggest things that still left
if I had to be honest. I still think Way of Water is the best movie of the series, and I do think Fire and Ash is slightly better than the first movie that I was lukewarm on. So at least it wasn't as underwhelming or as bad as I thought with like the first movie. And so with that said, let me get on to things I'm mixed to negative about. I later found out after I had seen the movie, James Cameron was saying in interviews that Way of Water actually had to be split up into two movies because it was too big of a film. And so Fire and Ash is kind of all the story beats and things he wanted to include in Fire and Ash, but then couldn't because that movie was already crazy long and all these Avatar movies are already crazy long. And that honestly then made sense and why this movie felt super repetitive. Like a lot of the things that happened in this film, I was watching it going, didn't we do this already? Didn't we already explore this? Like, I thought we were moving past this stuff and building onto new things. And I felt like that hurt the movie a little bit. Because like for a 3.5-hour movie, it should not feel too similar or repetitive to the other 3.5-hour movie I just watched. It was specifically a lot of things with the whales where I thought the whales were great in the second movie, the way they were used, but then they felt overused in the third movie. I kind of wanted the third movie to feel a lot with the way things shifted between Avatar 1 and Avatar 2, where it's like, all right, we're going to focus a whole story on these water people, and now in the third movie, all right, now these fire people exploring more, and it didn't really feel that way. So much of the movie has to deal with the repercussions of the last film, which I do like those parts, of course. They lost their son in the second movie. Of course I want to see the Sully family mourn that and what that means. But there were so many other aspects of the second movie it felt like they had to dip their toes back in that I just felt wasn't necessary. I also mentioned one of my favorite things that they introduced in this movie had to do with Jack Champion's character of Spider. And again, the story and concept on what they're doing with Spider and the repercussions of that in the universe, love that. Unfortunately, what I'm not loving so much is Jack Champion's acting. I hate to be that kind of guy, but it's either the way these lines are written, where the universe is like so grand, so big, but the dialogue sometimes in these Avatar films, and they were just so noticeable with like Spider's character. I don't know what it is about the teenage Avatar characters in this movie, but they can't help but to say bro in every sentence. Bro, look at, bro, we gotta get over there. Bro, my mom's in trouble. Bro, that fire Navi looking nice. Like, bro is in every sentence. That got annoying. And there's a lot of like emotional things that are connected to Spider's character, not just dealing with like the Colonel, but Neytiri, because she obviously does not like Spider, even something involving Jake Sully. Like, there's a lot of emotional things connected to Spider, and just the way Jack Champion acts that out, it is not coming off as strong as the material should be. And as awesome as like the big final battle is, with everything going on and the large scope of it, when it came down to like the characters, Jake Sully, the Colonel, everything going on, it felt a lot like, again, the recreation of what happened at the end of Way of Water. And I'm like, we did this already. Like, this isn't impactful. And it really kept adding to me thinking there's just not a lot new in here. Like, the Wind Tribe, I completely forgot about them, because they have about like 4 minutes of screen time in this movie. I was excited and interested to see what the Wind Tribe would have to offer. These nomads, these travelers who all they want to do is trade, but not really mess with any of the politics in the Na'vi world. They sounded interesting, but they came and went like a Na'vi fart in the wind. It's really weird to watch like a 3.5 hour movie, and once the credits roll, you go, that was it? Thought there would be more. And so this is like the Avatar movie that I think, like, it's still good, it's still enjoyable, but it feels like the most basic, almost formulaic sequel that you can get, where it's just like going through the motions and not like this big grand event that Avatar movies like to feel like they're like. And to some, that'll be enough. So when it comes to Avatar Fire and Ash, I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. Like, it is just still so amazing. All the action sequences, how good it looks, all the effects, and just the variety of action you get, whether it's aerial fights, water fights, land fights, plenty of cool stuff that happens in there. Comedy in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2 stars. I don't think it's all that funny. Drama in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I know sometimes that's the biggest weak point of an Avatar film, is just the simplified story. But this one even more, for feeling like they just repeated themselves too much and kind of glossed over some of the newer things they were introduced. Because, like, I still think the Fire People is a big highlight. I feel like we spent more time with the Fire People than what we got. And that goes times 100 for the Wind Tribe. And suspense the movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. Like I said, because you do care about these characters and it feels like anyone could die at any moment, I was on the edge of my seat, afraid for a couple of characters. When looking at the 3 C's, I don't think a casual could just jump into Fire and Ash. It's honestly very dependent on knowing things from the first movie, the second movie. They get kind of mashed in here, and looking at it critically, I think a lot of the critics are gonna have some of the same issues I have, unless I'm the only one right now in the minority. I mean, as I'm recording this, there's no Rotten Tomatoes score, there's no reactions online, so this could just be my own opinion, and I see everyone else's reactions tomorrow and go, oh, I guess it was just me feeling that way. So I'm gonna go with Cinephile, more for the blockbuster action, and that having a level of entertainment in this movie, which is still present. So when looking at Avatar Fire and Ash, my issues aside, I still think this is a grandiose time, and it's worth watching in theaters. But that is just my opinion on Avatar Fire and Ash. I throw it off to you guys. What did you think of this movie? I see some people walking out saying it's the best Avatar film. I wish I came out feeling that way. I still think Way of Water holds that title. But the Fire Tribe and little things that they've added to expand out the world, I am interested to see how that unfolds. And heck, we'll talk about it more in spoilers. Look forward to that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films, or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, let's connect ponytails, y'all.
James Cameron is taking us back to Pandora once again, but this time he's playing with Fire and Ash. Now, we know the first and even the second movie made a ton of money. So will this third entry even be worthwhile? Jake and Natiri's family grapples with grief after Netium's death, encountering a new aggressive Na'vi tribe, the Ash People, who the fiery Varang leads. As the conflict on Pandora escalates, a new moral focus emerges. Alright, so if you saw my out of the theater reaction, you'll know that I stated mostly positive things that stood out to me. But now, after having a few weeks to chew on it, I'm ready to dive into both the good and the bad without spoilers that you just wouldn't find in the first trailer. Now, the story takes place only a couple of weeks following The Way of Water, so the pain of losing their son is evident and raw for not only Jake and Natiri, but their other children as well. This grief and strife grows within the family, especially between Jake and Loic, and this then mirrors several other tense relationship dynamics that we see within the plot. And first off, the movie, it does not disappoint within the visuals. Like its predecessors, the 3D is phenomenal, and the creature creation, it is imaginative and spectacular. We revisit some animals and lands that we have seen in the previous two movies, but we also get to see these air fish-type things that act as dirigibles. I know I could just say blimp, but come on, dirigible is a much more fun word. We also get some new Akron, or those flying dragons. I don't think any of them are as ominous or even massive as The Last Shadow. Also, because this is mainly taking place in the reefs and then in the air, we don't see a bunch of new land creatures, but there are some, just not so of the huge diversity that we've had before. This also features what appears to be a high frame rate, making the entire world we watch look ultra realistic. It's as if a giant window is opened and we are peering outside to watch all of this unfold. And it did take a second to get used to. After that, though, it was an immersive experience. And I appreciate that the story, it's still able to produce and maintain a lot of suspense and anxiety. Just like with the other movies, this features some brutal battles that can be chaotic and frenzied. And the last third-ish of the movie, within this big battle, there are some aerial shots that kind of reminded me of World War II films, where the skies are just littered with planes and dogfights are taking place just about everywhere that you look. And at points, it was difficult to discern what was going on because the camera was just bouncing us around different areas of the sky, so then it could then focus on a particular moment of action. Thanks, though, to certain scenes slowing down a little bit, we're allowed to watch some fun destruction, kind of like in the original Avatar, where all these banshees are just taking on those flying crafts. The ferocity of the Ash People, who are called the Munquan clan, I thought it was exciting, also a bit freaky. They're warriors who pretty much won't stop until they've reached their objective. And this creates some harrowing sequences that involve nail-biting chases, and then moments where I was just holding my breath so that nobody could hear me. It's like, the characters could hear that on the screen and know exactly where everybody's at. But since I am talking about the Munquan clan, the way that they're portrayed is very similar to how Native American tribes have been stereotyped in movies and TV for decades. They're depicted as these savages who are beastly and murderous. They can't be rational or civilized to those who invaded their lands. Should they be? But it's a strange tactic to take within the story. I understand that as humans, we fight amongst ourselves all the time. But for Pandora, there's already a common enemy for the Na'vi, the threatening and aggressive human aliens. So it makes more sense that they would all want to rid the planet of this infestation. And this then leads the story down a very familiar path, where the humans manipulate the fierce Munquan with the promise of some power and weaponry, so that then the two species can fight to conquer the rest of the Na'vi, which then is most likely going to result in the humans betraying the Munquan, because just that's how we do things. But for a story, it's not fresh or unique. The different aspect of this clan, I thought it was intriguing, but behaviors and rituals, they're not really enough to make the narrative feel like it isn't repeating so many other films. The story also focuses on the idea of family. The plot raises questions about who makes up a family. Who do we accept and choose? Is it only blood relations? And what happens when there's anger and strife amongst those family members? And what's the acceptable response for perceived betrayal? Now, some of these, they're repeated themes from the first film, especially as they relate to who makes up a family and then what the response should be for perceived betrayal. And there are some pointed, painful conversations here. At times, I don't think Jake comes across as sympathetic or even a rational character. He slips into soldier mode very easily, and this isn't the first time that we've watched it. but it makes it hard to side with him, even when his outbursts are rooted in the desire to keep his family safe, while also knowing that he's helpless in so many of the situations. Another avenue the story focuses on in terms of family is that with Spider. His dynamic, it's always been intriguing, especially when he feels conflicted about where his loyalty lies. Now, I appreciated how the writing delved deeper into this area and then forced the characters to have some conversations that dove headfirst into this relational discomfort. There's a tense storyline centered around Spider, leading to a nervously raw scenario. I mean, it was powerful and vivid, and it could even bring a tear to your eyes. I think the focus on family was a good choice, as it allows for a relatable arc that then can be addressed through multiple viewpoints. And the story never dwelled on these longer than it needed to, so the messages, they weren't beating us over the head with relational counseling, but they also weren't pointed and direct enough to not be missed. And they also didn't drag down the story repetitively or overtly. Another area the story continues to address is hubris. We've seen it in each of the other films, and here one is a repeated behavior from a previous character, while the other is showcased from a new addition within the Monkwon clan. Una Chaplin plays Varan, the priestess and chief of the Monkwon, and she is not somebody that you want to cross. She's got this scream that showcases bared fangs and a hostility that would make just about anyone quiver. She's a commanding presence and leader for the clan, but like many power-hungry chiefs, her pursuit of more could just bite her in the butt. Now, I love the dynamic that she brings to the story, especially because once she engages in battle, like the rest of her clan, she's almost unstoppable. But she chooses the wrong target, she could face an equally dominating but also unrestrained adversary within Neytiri. As an antagonist, Varang brings a fresher threat than other adversaries we've seen before. There's also this strange character decision in terms of one other of the antagonists. They're given opportunity after opportunity to make a change, to just see the world differently. But every time they refuse, leading to a decision I think the character believes is honorable or maybe at least wise, but instead it's selfish. And the sequence just left me scratching my head a bit because it then seemed like a pointless story arc rather than something that led anywhere meaningful. For as much as I appreciate and enjoy the visuals and then the intensely violent clashes that we get to witness, the overall story is just way too similar to the other Avatar movies that have come before. The greedy pursuit of the humans who want to mine Pandora out of existence, while then also being willing to eradicate the native species that populate the land. It's just retreading arcs that we've already seen addressed. The continued focus on family is an effective storytelling tactic because it can resonate with many and then be relevant for a lot of audiences. The action, it's exciting, when do you want to sometimes so frenetic that it can become difficult.
What other time do you have available?
We have today, the last is 2 p.m. It will be just for 30 minutes. You can also attend it with your mobile phone.
Can I do it on another time?
Tomorrow you want to attend?
Can we do it Monday?
Okay, Monday, will you be able to attend it, Michael?
Yes.
Alright, okay, I'll reschedule for Monday. What time do you want to attend? 9 a.m., 11 or 2?
2 is fine, honestly. 2.
Alright, okay.
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience, something came up.
Discern all that's taking place, but the visuals, including the imaginative creature and landscape designs, are entrancing with rich colors and an immersive quality that sucks us into the world of the Na'vi. I would have preferred to get more depth on one segment of people that we meet because they come into the story abruptly and then exit just as quickly. The actors put on a wonderful performance, creating palpable emotion despite acting in front of settings that they can't even see. Now, the movie's a long one, 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it did go by faster than Way of Water. So the pacing and the intensity of the story I found more engaging. And I did enjoy this movie, but I'm still not sure we needed another adventure inside the world of Pandora. There's no sex, maybe some nudity, but it's kind of hard to discern, some profanity, and then a ton of violence. I give Avatar Fire and Ash 3 out of 5 couches. Okay, so do you have a favorite sci-fi action film? I would love to know what tops your list in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like, Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Movies. Thanks for couching.
Alright then, let's get this out of the way. Hey guys, so today on the channel I'm going to